Under the misty skies of Spa-Francorchamps, history took a sharp and painful turn, not with a bang, but with a chilling silence. Lewis Hamilton didn't explode with rage. He didn't slam his helmet, shout into the radio, or launch into a post-race tirade. He simply said, "I spun. Not great." And that's when Formula One fans knew something had gone terribly wrong. This wasn't just another off-track moment. This was symbolic. A man who built his legacy on mastering chaos, who found control in the stormiest corners of racing, was suddenly left vulnerable, not by his own mistake, but by a car that betrayed him at the most technical, most dangerous circuit on the calendar. The Ferrari SF25, the supposed pinnacle of Scuderia engineering, transformed into a liability and predictable, unstable, and shockingly unreliable. Hamilton had arrived at Spa with fresh hope, ready to reverse a frustrating season and make a statement. Ferrari, after all, had promised evolution. They brought upgrades, including a reworked rear suspension they claimed would bring balance and stability, but they underestimated the consequences of trial and error in the high-stakes sprint format. With only one practice session before qualifying, the team rolled the dice in Hamilton, and when that gamble failed, he became the scapegoat for a system that was never fully ready. The spin during sprint qualifying wasn't just a racing mishap. It was a moment of deep technical and emotional significance. Behind that calm statement, "I spun," was a storm of frustration. For the first time in over 330 Grand Prix appearances, Hamilton admitted to experiencing a rear lockup he'd never encountered before. That level of honesty from someone of his caliber wasn't casual. It was a subtle but piercing red flag. But Ferrari said nothing. No accountability, no explanation, no public reassurance, just more silence. And in Formula One, silence is louder than an engine scream when it comes from someone like Hamilton. Fans saw through the calm. They knew this wasn't just a driver struggling with form, it was a man realizing he had been thrown into the fire with no shield, no support, and no real plan. As Ferrari celebrated Leclerc's steady performance, Hamilton stood in the gravel, isolated and overlooked. That contrast, one Ferrari gliding ahead, the other sinking into failure, was more than humiliating. It exposed an ugly truth. Ferrari had split its attention. And for Hamilton, who joined the team to elevate its future, that betrayal might just be unforgivable. Lewis Hamilton is not your average driver. He is one of the greatest names in the history of motorsport, a driver who transformed Formula One not only with his skill but with his relentless hunger for improvement, his demand for excellence, and his uncanny ability to adapt to pressure. When Ferrari signed him, it wasn't just about adding a trophy name to their roster. It was about building a future, a legacy, a return to dominance. But what happened at Spa wasn't the act of a team protecting its investment. It was the opposite. Ferrari, desperate to catch up in development, rolled out an unproven rear suspension system, a major component of the car's performance, and instead of introducing it conservatively, they threw Hamilton straight into the experiment. With just one practice session before competitive running, there was no margin for error, and yet they took the risk. Even more confusing is that Charles Leclerc wasn't subjected to the same setup changes, while Hamilton struggled with a nervous rear end, unpredictable grip, and technical anomalies. Leclerc's side of the garage maintained stability. The result, Leclerc ran clean, consistent laps, while Hamilton fought the car like it was an unpredictable beast. Fans couldn't ignore the disparity. Why was one side of the garage optimized, while the other was thrown into chaos? Insiders at Sky Sports began to pick up on troubling signs. Martin Brundle noted an unusual metallic sound during Hamilton's lap, a sound that shouldn't exist in a finely tuned F1 machine. Anthony Davidson took it a step further, pointing to what he believed was gearbox backlash, a telltale sign of deeper drivetrain instability. These weren't just minor issues, they were signs of structural failure. But Ferrari, again, said nothing. The spin at the bus stop chicane wasn't just caused by a mechanical error, it was the climax of poor judgment. The tires gave out, the rear snapped. Hamilton, a master of control, was left helpless. And still, Ferrari remained quiet. To use a driver of Hamilton's experience as a guinea pig at one of the most complex circuits in the world isn't just careless, it's disrespectful. It's a move that suggests either desperation or division within the team's leadership. Either way, it sends a clear message. Hamilton isn't the priority. And if he's not the priority, then the question becomes ... why is he even there? Behind every championship-winning team in Formula One is unity, shared goals, synchronized strategy, and unwavering trust between both sides of the garage. But at Spa, Ferrari exposed something far more dangerous than a bad upgrade, a fractured, internal philosophy. For fans and experts watching closely, the signs were impossible to miss. This wasn't just technical failure, it was a clear symptom of organizational misalignment. Charles Leclerc's smooth, stable run stood in brutal contrast to Hamilton's nightmare weekend. Same team, same car on paper, but two completely different outcomes. One driver pushing toward the front, the other left flailing in 18th. It wasn't about talent. It wasn't even about bad luck. It was about choices made behind closed doors that hinted at something deeper than a simple setup misfire. The whispers grew louder as the weekend progressed. Is Ferrari really building one car for two drivers? Or are they quietly shifting their focus and resources toward a single long-term bet? The idea that Ferrari may be subtly favoring Leclerc isn't new. He's younger, homegrown, and seen as a future world champion. But if that favoritism starts to affect car development and race strategy, it becomes a dangerous game, especially with a legend like Hamilton in the other seat. Hamilton is no stranger to internal team politics. He's been through team transitions, into driver rivalries and development disputes. But what makes this situation different is the scale of the gamble. Ferrari didn't just prioritize Leclerc, they exposed Hamilton to failure in a sprint, weekends where every second counts and there's no room for setup correction. Ferrari used one of the greatest drivers in history to test unproven hardware. That's not just poor judgment, it's sabotage by negligence. Fans began asking the hard questions. Why did Ferrari risk using experimental components without adequate data? Why weren't both cars given equal upgrades, or at least equal stability? And most critically, why was there no accountability after Hamilton's incident? Even within the team, tensions are starting to rise. Mechanics, engineers, and strategists are said to be divided between loyalty to Hamilton's vision and a longer-term focus on Leclerc. These aren't just rumors, they're visible in the way pit strategies unfold, in how feedback is acted upon, and in who gets the final say during crunch moments. This internal divide threatens everything Ferrari is trying to build, because Formula One isn't just about fast cars, it's about trust. The moment a driver feels like he's no longer backed, no longer heard, the results start to collapse. And for Hamilton, who came to Ferrari to build a new legacy, this lack of alignment is beginning to feel like a warning sign rather than a rough patch. If Ferrari doesn't resolve this divide, if they can't guarantee Hamilton the equal footing he needs, they risk not only losing a driver, but destabilizing the entire project. What was supposed to be a return to greatness is now slowly unraveling under the pressure of unspoken decisions and unequal treatment. And for a team with such a proud legacy, the cost of internal betrayal could be far greater than any single Grand Prix result. There's a moment in every champion's career where silence says more than words ever could. For Lewis Hamilton, that moment happened at Spa, not in a press conference, not during a radio message, but in the eyes of a man who had clearly been pushed too far. The world saw it. A 7-time world champion, standing alone in the gravel. No drama, no theatrics, just quiet disappointment. But make no mistake, silence like that carries weight. Hamilton is known for being vocal about injustice, performance, strategy, everything. But this time, he didn't lash out. He didn't throw blame at the engineers. He didn't attack the team publicly. Instead, he dropped 2 sentences. I spun, not great. They were deliberately calm, but underneath that calm was a lifetime of built-up standards that had been violated. That's the part Ferrari seems to be underestimating. Hamilton doesn't just drive fast cars, he builds legacies. He creates cultures of excellence. He helped transform Mercedes from a middle-of-the-grid squad into one of the greatest dynasties in F1 history. He demands a certain level of precision and trust, and when that trust is broken, there are consequences. Quiet, deliberate, powerful consequences. What's alarming isn't that Hamilton had a bad weekend, it's that Ferrari didn't seem surprised by it. They didn't scramble to fix the error. They didn't rush out a statement to back their driver. It was as if they expected failure. And if they did, then it raises a darker question. Was Hamilton simply the sacrificial pawn in a broader development strategy? Think about that. Hamilton didn't sign with Ferrari to experiment. He came to win titles, to lead a renaissance. Instead, he's being used as a test subject in a rushed engineering overhaul during a sprint weekend. That's arguably the most technically demanding track in the world. There was no fallback, no margin, just risk. And Hamilton was told to take it on the chin, but he won't do that for long. People forget this is the same driver who walked away from McLaren when their vision no longer matched his. The same man who risked everything to join a Mercedes project. If he senses that Ferrari is no longer serious about backing him fully, if he sees that their vision is tilting toward another driver, or worse, spiraling without direction, he won't wait around. And don't think he's short on options. Even with his current contract, there are always clauses, exit strategies, and most importantly, demand. Hamilton's name still carries immense weight. Mercedes, Aston Martin, Audi, all would line up if he signals he's ready to shift, because teams don't just want fast drivers, they want leaders, anchors, champions. And Hamilton is still all of those things. Ferrari should be terrified, not because Hamilton had one bad result, but because he didn't scream about it, because he's gone quiet. That silence isn't surrender, it's preparation, the kind of preparation that usually comes before a storm. And if that storm breaks, it won't just blow over the paddock, it could bring down the entire vision Ferrari spent years trying to rebuild. This is where things get serious. Not just for Lewis Hamilton, but for the entire Ferrari organization. Because what happened at Spa isn't just a setback, it could be the turning point that defines or destroys their future. Ferrari didn't just invite Hamilton to Maranello to fill a seat. They brought him in to signal a new era, to restore greatness, to bring championship-winning discipline, experience, and hunger back into their DNA. But now, just halfway through the project, they've done the one thing that could unravel all of it. They've fractured his trust. Formula One is brutal. Every team walks a fine line between development risk and championship consistency. But there's a difference between pushing boundaries and pushing your drivers off a cliff. Ferrari didn't just cross that line, they obliterated it. They gambled their most valuable asset on a rushed upgrade, and now they're watching the consequences unfold in real time. And the warning signs are everywhere internally. Tensions are rising. Engineers disagree on the development path. Some insiders suggest the team's technical department is being pulled in two different directions. One toward Hamilton's feedback and proven experience, and the other toward Leclerc's driving style and long-term promise. That's not a disagreement, that's a full-blown identity crisis. From the outside, the narrative is clear. Ferrari is at war with itself, and the longer they pretend everything is fine, the worse it will get, because Hamilton isn't just another voice in the room. He's a man who knows what it takes to win not once, but repeatedly, under immense pressure, against the odds. He's seen how fragile success can be, and when he senses instability, he moves quickly, coldly, without emotion. If Spa was the tipping point, the next races could be the fallout. Hamilton won't wait for promises. He'll demand proof, a plan, a shift in culture. He'll want to know that his voice is heard, his feedback is valued, and that he's being treated as more than just a symbol. If Ferrari can't deliver, he'll walk. And if he does, it could trigger a domino effect across the grid. The fans see it, the pundits are talking, the paddock feels it. This isn't just about a bad qualifying run. It's about something foundational: broken trust, failed expectations, and the possibility of a breakup that would send shockwaves through the sport. And here's the most painful truth for Ferrari: they have no more time. The season rolls on. The media spotlight is relentless. Every move, every quote, every gesture will now be dissected. If they double down on silence and division, they risk not just losing Hamilton but watching their entire vision collapse in front of the world. Because once a legend like Hamilton walks away, the narrative is no longer about a failed project, it's about a betrayal that couldn't be undone. So, what do you think? Has Ferrari crossed a line that Hamilton will never forgive? Or is there still a way back from this storm? Let us know in the comments, and if you're as invested in this unfolding drama as we are, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and share this video with every F1 fan who still believes that behind every scandal there's a turning point, because what happens next could change Formula One forever.